Hey, welcome back to From the Tech Desk by your RC experts here at Rise Hobby. I'm your host, Brad Brooker. Today we're walking you through the steps you need to take to install flaps on your Hobbyzone Carbon Cub S2. So before we get started, we need to make sure we have a few items. Servo extension, sub-micro servo, servo horn for your servo, the linkages that come with the kit for your flaps. They actually be in a hardware bag in your kit, so make sure you have that. The fuel tubing for your clevises for your hardware, a couple pieces of servo tape, a hobby knife, Phillips screwdriver, and a towel or two to lay down your wing while working on it. Now let's get started. So let's start by cutting the flaps loose from your wing. You want to put a towel or something soft down on your table if you don't damage your actual wing itself. You'll be doing the same thing on both sides of your wing, the right and left side of the wing. So you'll be cutting a little notch out on the actual side of the flap and also along the flap as well, the straight line there. You'll want to cut about a 2mm gap with that as well, just for allows freedom between the wing and the flap itself. So let's get started. So again, you're going to cut this little piece out right here. It's like a little wedge, so it'll be two different sides, and the biggest thing is cut nice and slowly so you don't damage anything. And what it'll look like a little triangle once you get it all cut out. There you go. I'm going to cut it a little bit more just to make it a little cleaner. You don't want to cut all the way through. There we go. And again, also, you want to cut along the edge here as well. You want about a 2mm gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go along the side here, straight down. You want to go all the way through with this here. Let's make sure we're all the way through. Almost looks like. Do one more cut. There we go. There we go. We got nice movement there now. Also, if you want, you take a silver Sharpie or a paint marker to cover up the white to make everything look the same. So now let's do the other side. Again, you're going to cut the little V out here. You don't want to go all the way through. There you go. I'm going to cut a little more out. It's always good to take a little less than too much. So you always go back over it, cut a little more out. And again, along the wing here as well. This one you'll want to go all the way through. Again, you want about a 2mm gap, so it allows a little freedom between the two pieces. Okay, let's make sure everything moves freely. And it does. There you go. Now you have all those pieces cut out. Now let's put the wing together. So once you have the wing together, now it's time to install the servo and the linkages. So first thing we'll do is get your servo, and we're actually going to make sure it's centered, and we're going to use the Spectrum Smart Checker to actually center our servo. Go plug a battery into it. Go to Servo Test. Click on that. Plug your servo in. There you go, you heard it. It's centered now. Go and unplug it. Go and move this out of the way. Also, you can use if you plug your servo into the actual receiver, you can do it that way. But this is a quick and easy way to do it, is actually use your Smart Checker by Spectrum. So we're going to use double-sided tape. We're actually going to put the double-sided tape on the servo. One thing to do is make sure the servo itself is in the right orientation. So it's going to go just like this here. It's cut out just the correct way, so you really can't put it in incorrectly. But just double check, make sure everything's okay. So let's go ahead and put our double-sided tape on the servo. Another thing is, before we install the servo, let's put the servo horn on first. They want you to put it on about a 35-degree angle. Let's go ahead and get that on. Looks about correct. Now I'll go ahead and peel the other side of the double stick tape. Here's where the towel comes in handy when you're pushing down on the wing a little bit, but also you put your hand underneath the wing to put a little up pressure on it when you're installing the servo. Once you have that installed, now we can go and install the hardware. Now it's time to install the included linkage. This comes with the airplane itself. It's in the hardware bag, and also the 2 pieces of fuel tubing to go over the clevises themselves. So go to put those on first. The fuel tubing keeps the clevises tight. They don't come apart. Go install the linkage to the servo horn. You go ahead and mount those to the linkages themselves on the airplane for your flaps. Once those are in place, go ahead and slide your fuel tubing up. Now it's time to install the servo extension. Go and plug that in and also make sure the right polarity. And also a good time to go ahead and put your wire harness back on the other servos. Again, when installing that, make sure it's correct polarity as well. There we go. Now it's time to install this wing to the fuse. Now it's time to plug everything in. Your flaps will go into AUX 2. Go get your Y harness plugged in as well. There we go. Everything's all plugged in. Now it's time to get the transmitter and get everything all programmed. Now it's time to grab your transmitter so we get programming. So go ahead and get your transmitter, go and turn it on as well. Once you have it on, you go down to the bottom here to System Setups. Once you get to System Setups, you'll scroll down to Channel Assignment, go to AUX 2. You want to go to Switch D. You'll back out of that screen. You'll go to your monitor screen and see your settings here to make sure they're the correct setting. So now let's make sure we have everything right on the plane. One last final step is to make sure everything's working correctly. But before we get started, a good safety habit to have is make sure your prop is off your airplane before you fire anything up. Especially if you're working on the bench or your shop, make sure your prop is off. So our prop is off, airplane is plugged in. Let's make sure everything's working correctly. So again, the 0 position on the switch should be 0 flaps. We have it. 1 position should be roughly around 12 millimeters, which it is. Position 2 should be about 25. And it's right there. I would say about 25 and a half. So you can adjust this to whatever you like, but the 12 and 25 is a good starting point. But there we go. That's how quick and easy it is to add flaps to a Carbon Cub S2. Thanks again for watching and stay tuned for more tips, tricks, and other helpful videos from RC experts at Hobbyzone Hobby.